Well, hey guys, back at the museum on a second Saturday, but we're not flying today. I'm here to check on the new standard and see how the annual inspection's going on my ride biplane. So that's what look what they've done to my airplane. It's just completely torn apart.
If you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you already know two things. One, this isn't actually my airplane, it belongs to the WAAAM, the Western Antique Aircraft and Automobile Museum in Hood River. And two, that on the second Saturday of every month, weather permitting, we pull this airplane out and we sell biplane rides. And try to share the joy and romance and wonder of open cockpit biplane flying with new generations. And the history surrounding this airplane is pretty cool. In the 1920s, barnstormers were buying surplus standard J1 biplanes and modifying them by cutting out a structural crossmember to add a second bench seat so they could haul as many rides as possible in order to make a living. And the CAA, the precursor to the FAA, realized that this was kind of a dangerous modification and we were cutting out structural members and putting more passengers on board, and that's just not a great recipe. So they started cracking down on these airplanes. And so the designer of that airplane started his own company called New Standard and designed this airplane, the D-25, a 4-passenger ride-hauling beast of an airplane. It's slow, kind of a lumbering aircraft, and flies a little bit like a Mack dump truck. But it's an absolute treat and a real privilege to get to take people up in this airplane and carry on that legacy of barnstorming in the same aircraft that's been doing this job for 95 years. Now, in that time, this airplane's had a pretty hard life. We have reason to believe that at some point way back in its past, it was flipped over on its back. One of the upper wings has been completely replaced. The rudder has been repaired, things of that nature. It's been hauling rides for at least 30 years now with this fabric since its previous restoration, and quite honestly, the fabric is starting to show its age. So the decision was made that this winter, when we brought it in for its annual inspection, we would pull all the fabric off this airplane and do a complete restoration just to make sure that everything about this airplane is as safe as possible, and hopefully it can go on selling biplane rides for another 95 years.
Hey gang, so we are at long last pulling the fabric off the fuselage of the New Standard, which is something I've been waiting for and looking forward to for quite a while. So I'm gonna get this done. We're gonna try and cut out and save the badge on the side because one of the other volunteers would like to have that as a souvenir. And we're gonna get this all cleaned up so that we can get inside and take a closer look at it. So here's the deal. The New Standard came in for an annual inspection in October, and we started going through little squawks here and there, stuff that we wanted to take a look at. Now, long story short, we're doing a lot of work to the airplane. But the big thing on this airplane is the fact that we're going to be hauling biplane rides with this for the museum and paying passengers on a regular basis. So we want to make sure that this airplane is absolutely as perfect and as safe as it can be. The fuselage is an extruded aluminum construction, which is an unusual build construction technique in older aircraft. It's pretty cool though. But what it is essentially it's just aluminum extruded angles that have these big welded gussets, which is just a doubler plate with some holes. Did I say welded gussets? Riveted gussets. So it's just another piece of aluminum cut. That's a hard one to see. Let's find a better one so I can here we go. Gussets. A gusset's made, it's a doubler plate. It reinforces that connection between all of them, so you're not just throwing one rivet between each one of these joints, but you have an assortment of rivets, and the doubler plate makes it really, really strong. And then the whole thing is just constructed out of a whole bunch of triangles, which is why when you look along this, we've got verticals and then angles, and then verticals and then angles, and then verticals and then angles, all the way along the fuselage. That's triangulation. Triangles are the strongest shape. So you make a whole bunch of triangles, you make a really strong frame. So even though this is extruded aluminum angle, it's a very robust fuselage. It's also 95 years old.
So one of the big considerations with this airplane being 95 years old is we have at least one documented accident in this aircraft's past. It was apparently flipped over on its back many years ago, and the aircraft was rebuilt, and everything was beautifully done. But airplanes this old don't always have a complete record of their history and any damage. So even though everything has passed inspections over the last few years, we still really wanted to take this deep look to make 100% sure that anything and everything was actually as solid as it needs to be. So we have a pretty large restoration crew at the museum. All told, I think we have anywhere between 10 and 15 volunteers in our restoration shop who come in at different schedules. Some are snowbirds, so they go away for the winter. Others come in 2 or 3 days a week, every week, and put a few hours in helping clean airplane parts or remove stuff or make new pieces or whatever it needs to get done in the shop. And some of these guys are retired AMPs who know all the regulations and everything and know what they're doing to put stuff back together. And some of these guys are just enthusiasts who are coming in and working underneath the guidance and mentorship of Jacona, who's our shop manager. And then there's guys like me. I have a job so that I can pay the bills. And when I have a day off, whether it be because of a weather delay or I just don't have any students that week, I spend my free time in the museum as often as possible helping turn wrenches on airplanes. And since I'm the primary pilot on this particular airplane, I feel particularly responsible for contributing as much as I can. So because we have so many volunteers, it's really important that every piece we take off gets really thoroughly labeled so that if we need to reinstall it later and I'm not there or the person, who took it off isn't there, the next person in line knows where it goes and how to put it back on. Now, with a lot of these stringers that I'm removing here, even though we labeled them and we were very careful removing them, some of them were still damaged from being 95 years old. A few had been replaced at past restorations, but weren't necessarily up to our standards. So we wound up making all new stringers for this fuselage. And the gentleman responsible for that is this fellow here, Martin, who just walked in to talk to me about what we're disassembling. He is truly a fantastic woodwork, and you'll see possibly later in this video, otherwise in the next video, all of his brand new stringers he's made, and they look gorgeous.
That's not encouraging.
So this right here is, aside from the glue and dirt and other things that are on the paint here, is also got a little bit of corrosion underneath it. And you'll see it in a moment here, is this kind of white flaky stuff underneath the paint. And that is the kind of thing that nobody would have been able to find without removing all of the fabric from this fuselage and pulling off all those wooden stringers. So while this really isn't a lot of corrosion, it's definitely something that couldn't be allowed to continue to fester.
Yeah, that's not good.
That said, finding the corrosion allows us to deal with it. So we were able to scour this section clean, hit it with a stainless steel wire brush on a die grinder, thoroughly remove any and all corrosion, and then treat it with zinc chromate in order to prevent any future corrosion from forming. And then, as an additional precaution, one of our airframe mechanics that's a volunteer at the museum went ahead and added this doubler plate to reinforce that section of fuselage, just to be completely sure that we had no compromise in the strength and integrity of this airframe. While he was working on that, I got to work disassembling things such as this control column and joystick for the aircraft. These parts, even though they were in great shape, all needed to get cleaned up, and ultimately we repainted everything and ran it through the sandblasting or bead blasting cabinets to get them as good as new, if at all possible, and make sure everything was perfect. Plus, it's a lot easier to inspect welds and such when there's no dirt and grease and grime in the way. So after breaking everything down here, I headed over into the fabrication and cleaning bay of the restoration hangar where we have our sandblasting cabinet. And the steel parts went in and got sandblasted to remove any corrosion and old primer so that Jay could inspect them, make sure that they were still good, or repair those that needed to be repaired, or replace those that needed to be replaced. And then everything got hung up and got a fresh coat of primer and paint, so it all looks good when we put it back together. Now, once the fuselage was completely stripped and disassembled, all the parts that had been removed or, needed to be removed had been removed, we then went back through and removed a bunch of the cross members that were only held in with bolts. We tried not to drill out any rivets if we didn't have to, seeing as a lot of these rivets are actually the original hardware from the 1930s, and they're still in really good shape, so we didn't want to, fix things that weren't broken. But a few of these cross members, since we had the option to pull them out with just removing a few bolts, we took the opportunity to disassemble them, inspect everything, and then they got a fresh coat of zinc chromate, which is this kind of yellowy green primer that we put on in order to essentially chemically seal and treat all the metal so it's not prone to corrosion in the future. And then we started the fun process of reinstalling all new hardware on everything, putting it all back together so that this airplane should, if all goes well, survive another 95 years and outlive everyone who's worked on this particular restoration. Now, part of the struggle with this is the fact that this is fairly tight quarters and there's not really enough room to get my head in there to see what I'm doing. So a lot of this I'm trying to work kind of blind. And right here, I'm actually using my cell phone camera to try and see what I'm doing by using it like a mirror. And here you can see all the cross members that have been removed, cleaned, zinc chromated, and then reinstalled. Really as preventative measures, all of those parts were in incredibly good condition, but since we had them out and we had the opportunity, we took the time to do it.
With sticky stuff on finger, stick nut to sticky stuff.
Super glue back to finger. That's what Martin does.
I mean, actually, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Ow! Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, got it. British, right?
The British one did. A little more painful, but it works. Now, see if I can get a wrench on.
So, because of how tight those quarters are and because of how fat my fingers are trying to work in these tight spaces, what you couldn't see there was I spent about 20 minutes trying to get that nut on there and tried an assortment of tools, including magnets and other things, and finally gave up and just walked over to our lubricants shelf in the shop and grabbed some grease so that I could stick that nut to my finger, since I'm trying to work blind around a corner in a confined area. And even here with this bolt that I've just installed and I'm putting a nut on, I probably spent 5 minutes trying to get that thing lined up and installed just because I couldn't fit my fingers in there and I couldn't get a good tool on it. So I've edited out a lot of me struggling and cursing, just trying to get hardware to go where it goes. And then we had to get a little creative with tools in order to tighten it down. So since I couldn't really get a wrench on this particular bolt head, I had to use this little pry bar to basically lock it in place with some friction on only one face as opposed to two sides like you would with a wrench. Now, one of the things about this, if you've enjoyed this restoration video, what I have to say is I know it's broken up into two parts. There's just a whole lot of footage and a lot that's going into this restoration, and we're not quite done yet. We're still only about 80% of the way through the reassembly of the fuselage at this point. So the rest will be coming out in a later video, but if you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing to the channel. And I know it's annoying when people ask you to do that. I hate asking that question, but we're getting close to the point where this channel might get monetized, and if I can make a couple bucks off of these videos, in the future, it'll make it a lot easier for me to actually do more of this kind of stuff. So if you like it, let me know. You can leave a comment. And if you don't like it, well, then you probably aren't still watching. Now, once all those cross members had been reinstalled in the airframe, we spent about a day and a half just going over every nook and cranny of this fuselage, thoroughly scraping out any grease and debris that we could. And you see me like here, we're using a dental pick to get down into these corners to get out some of the old caked on grease and loose primer, so that when we take this into our paint booth and reprime it, we have a good surface that everything will bond to. And when I say we spent about a day and a half on this, I mean we legitimately spent about a day and a half just cleaning, scrubbing. You can't see it in this clip because it's just me at the moment, but I think there were about 3 or 4 of us that were working on this over that day and a half, just tackling little piece by little piece, and eventually we got the whole thing done.
Where do you want to go? Let's rotate clockwise for you. Go on one side and inspect for leak, and then we'll go upside down and do the same.
And every time I thought we just about had it taken care of, we'd rotate the fuselage 90 degrees and find spots we'd missed and start tackling it all over again. So that's a big part of the reason it took us that day and a half. So what you can see here in the background is me just tackling some of those little areas where we had some bare metal, hitting it with some zinc chromate, making sure it had that protective coating underneath the epoxy primer that would follow shortly thereafter. And occasionally we'd find an area that looked like it had some loose primer, that maybe it was corrosion underneath, things like that. And in those cases, I'd put on my safety heart-shaped sunglasses, fire up the pneumatic grinder with the stainless wire wheel, and give everything a real thorough scrub so we could examine and make sure that there was no corrosion there whatsoever. So we spent that time making sure we had everything as perfect as we could make it. So the last day of January, we wound up working a little bit late into the evening just so that we could make sure we had everything done. I think it was probably close to 5:30 by the time we finished cleaning up the fuselage, touching up those last little bits, and making sure it was all ready to go into the paint booth for primer. And then Jacona stayed late that evening and shot the primer on this thing so it would have all weekend to set up and dry, so that Monday morning we could roll this thing back into the main work area and start putting new hardware and parts back on this airplane. Once we got the fuselage into the paint booth and we shot epoxy primer on it, things started to look pretty shiny. And honestly, I gotta say, it's hard to believe that this is the same airplane that a few months earlier I was taking people up for rides in. It just doesn't even look like an airplane when we have it in this state and fully disassembled. Originally, my plan was to end the video here and leave you with a little bit of a cliffhanger, but it's just so exciting to see how this airplane is coming together. Once the primer went on this thing, it started looking gorgeous. So I'll give you a little sneak peek as to what's coming in the next installment on this restoration, and give you a little bit of taste of why I'm so excited to see this airplane going back together, because honestly, it's turning out incredibly beautifully.